Oceotihijo, this is Fiber Great Wolf of Native Voices Turtle Island TV. We're starting a little late because we had to prepare some notes, and that can take a little time. Our special guest today is Fierce Truth Seeker of the Red Road East on YouTube, well known, beloved historian, and my godson. And the last time that we came on, we were talking about Spencer Wells, and I showed a video at the time that Facebook, YouTube wrote me and said that it was automatically removed. In other words, I guess it's in Spencer Wells's contract or whatever. But I did manage to put a disclaimer on my YouTube channel and show, if you would be kind to see it, Mr. Spencer Wells, Dr. Spencer Wells, is on my YouTube channel. And you can go over it and see what his views are, his research. From 2005 to 2015, Wells led the Genographic Project undertaken by the National Geographic Society, IBM, and the White Foundation, WAITT, which aimed to create a picture of how our ancestors populated the planet by analyzing DNA samples from around the world. The project is credited with creating the personal genomics industry, a whole new industry starting from 2005. So I would say that they're finding another way to paper genocide. That's just my views. What are your views, Fierce Truth Seeker?
Yeah, indeed. Another way of paper genocide for sure. Um, I bought that book by Spencer Wells a while back. The Journey of Man was the title of his book. The Journey of Man, A Genetic Odyssey. I bought it back in the I think it was in the 90s, maybe like the late 90s, something like that. And I actually used that particular book as one of my references in my book that I've been working on. And Spencer Wells had gone among many different nations and among different indigenous peoples within those nations. And, he covered pretty much everywhere. He even came here among the Navajo, and, he presented his findings to these people. And, he showed them, and, they looked and kind of acquiesced to the information. He went among the East Indians over in India. He went up in different parts of Europe, and he went to the Australian Aborigines. And the Australian Aborigines were like, hey, we really don't know anything about this information that you're presenting. We don't have any stories in our folklore or anything like that about coming from Africa. We don't know anything about that, is what the Australian Aborigines were saying. And so, they were very adamant about it also, you know. So the whole thing with that whole paradigm is it's all based in the Darwinistic model, okay, of evolution, that whole theory. And nowadays, that theory is becoming more and more outdated, and people are looking more at an into Africa model as opposed to an out of Africa model. Okay. And once upon a time, everybody was looking towards the east. But as I stated in the last presentation, I showed where there are archaeological finds of anatomically modern humans right here in the Americas that predate anything found in Africa. Okay. And they talk about leaving anatomically modern humans leaving Africa, I think somewhere around 60,000 years ago. And then, they had some new finds that say it's as late as, I think they say one find was like 100 and something thousand years ago now, but that is nothing. That's very recent in comparison to the finds here in the Americas. In the Americas, we're talking about millions of years ago. And if you want to talk about DNA, there has even been finds of a man by the name of Albert Perry, who they call the father of all human DNA. And Albert Perry is found in South Carolina. Okay, he's
Mm.
from South Carolina, and his DNA is like, I think it was like 300. Was it 360,000 years, something like that? I have the article here, but he's the father of all mankind. Now they tried to make it seem as though his DNA goes back to the Cameroon. However, that's not the case because when you research the journal, it talks about how the Cameroon, what they found in the Cameroon was actually 11 mutational steps away from that particular DNA here. Okay. So it's not coming from the Cameroon. Okay. So there's a lot of neglected history of the extreme antiquity in the Americas and also other parts of the world that has been ignored, because the thing is that if you don't follow the conventional model of human evolution, then they automatically dismiss it. Even if you find the archaeological evidence to prove such, they dismiss it because they'll say it doesn't follow the conventional model. Okay. So it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not, you found bones that are older or whatever. They say, okay, yeah, you found some bones that are older than what was found in Africa, but it doesn't follow our particular narrative. And if it doesn't follow our narrative, it doesn't exist. that's that's what they say, you know. But that just lets you know that there is a concerted effort to keep that narrative going. Okay. And they don't want anything to contradict their paradigm, you see. And you have some people in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to acknowledge who was in the chat. Firebird.
Um, I s- I see El God. I see Donna.
Yep. El God. Hey.
I don't know who you can see.
Yeah, I see El God. Peace. Hey, peace, El God. Yeah, me and El God were chatting earlier. And Donna,
Mhm.
yeah, Donna, she says, I found Wells's documentary yesterday, although interesting. I would think it would be outdated. Yeah, because that was a while ago. I bought that book, I believe, in the 90s. And every day they're coming up with new evidence. And also, see, the other thing too, see, the way I do my research, I also look at the folklore, the indigenous folklore. So when you look at a lot of the folklore that we had here in the Americas among the tribes, you know, you look at that folklore, and a lot of tribes have folklore that said that we didn't come from anywhere, that, and even folklore, I can pull up folklore that talks about civilization starting here in the Americas. Okay, so more and more, these anthropologists are finding that the things that our ancestors had been saying in the folklore is right and exact, is right and exact. Yeah.
Well, I find something interesting. If you read between the lines, it says that he's an American geneticist and anthropologist in which he uses techniques and theories of genetics instead of making it a definite. The key words are techniques and theories.
Right.
And when they were showing all of his work way back in 2005, he was making it an exact.
Right.
So how,
Exactly.
therefore, how can you be, using techniques and theories?
Yeah. Well, the whole Darwinistic model is a theory. Let's just say the theory of evolution, you know. So when you have a theory, then there's a there's room for error, you know, because it's just a theory, you
Well,
know.
he made a lot of money as a definite, and people are still following his teachings,
Mhm. Mhm.
and he started a whole new trend of what do they say? Uh the genomics industry. So people are making money off of a genomics industry, and it's based on theory and techniques.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And like you said earlier, you know, these things could also be, another form of paper genocide, and you know, so you have to study these things, and we have to also field and train our own anthropologists to go out and take up these areas of study and put these things into proper perspective. And until we do that, we're at the mercy of these people who are trying to tell our story, and also create a narrative that keeps us in the same position that we had been in, with dealing with paper genocide all over the world. People claiming your land and saying, "Oh, well, we all come from Africa, so we have the right to be here too, and everybody's an immigrant, and all of that kind
Everybody's
of
an
stuff.
immigrant. We can start our own genetics industry.
Yeah.
It's
you
one
know.
one big mess. You
hmm
know,
and it's crazy,
it's
and
very crazy. You
and
know,
you have the whole thing too with paper genocide, and talking on another note, here you had a Walter Plecker, and people like that, and creating the whole issue where they're reclassifying people, based on phenotype and things of that nature. And this is just a kind of a modern way of doing that, you know. So I also recall a discussion that I was having earlier, um, and the whole thing with phenotype and things of that nature is it hurts the community, because even among the tribes and things of that nature, you have people who are related and things like that. And just in order to get funding and things of that nature, they'll throw their own families under the bus, you know, and even, do things like I had a conversation like me and El God was talking earlier, and we were discussing the whole thing about, phenotype and things of that nature. So to add to that discussion that I was having with El God, so the phenomenon that you see like on the reservations today, you see a lot of different phenotypes. You know, you have the range varies. You know, and you had, like, for instance, like I have a book here called, it's called that the blood stay pure, and it talks about how people would have like family members who, some of them would be lighter skin, some of them would be darker skin, and if they married someone who was darker, then they were frowned upon, and even uh, not allowed, to come to church services, and you know,
in your house.
yeah, in your house, and be banished from the tribe and things of that nature. So you would find, people also like trying
Mm-mm.
to marry out, you know, and just like how you see you see a lot of it in the Latin American community, how they say advance the race, and they'll marry like a Caucasian to lighten up the generations and things of that nature. So, you find the same phenomenon. You find this all over. You even find it over in India, you find it in China, you know, and it gets really crazy. So, you know, this whole thing of genetics, and, it all has to be, we have to tell the history in its proper perspective, you know. And even when it comes to DNA, there's a big question about DNA today. A lot of people are talking about DNA. Some people are pro DNA, some people are against DNA. You know, I say that for the most part, I mean, you can get a DNA test done, but if you don't have someone that knows how to look at those markers and properly interpret them, then you have a useless piece of paper, you know. And as we talked about just a minute ago about fielding and training our own anthropologists to go out there. Until we do that, you're at the mercy of these people. Like when I got my DNA done, that's what I did. I went to a brother who specializes in Paleo American DNA, and that's where I took my DNA results too. Okay, and it's better that way. But if you're just doing it and using the conventional breakdown of those markers, then you're really in trouble.
I have three pictures of different phenotypes. One person you might recognize.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
who's that in the background over 20 years ago?
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
There I go
Yeah.
with
Oh yeah.
with another person of another phenotype,
Yep, yep.
and we're all socializing and together. And
Mhm.
then we have a very famous person. You know who that is?
Yeah. Yep.
Chief Quanah Parker. His mom was
Mhm.
white.
Mhm.
So when you go to the reservations, especially on the East Coast, you're going to see all these different type of phenotypes. We're going to see people that look like you, people that look like me, people that look like Quanah Parker, people that look like the Taino brother, you
Mhm.
know, all together, you know,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and not discriminating against each other.
Yeah. 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 Oh yeah. Yeah, the phenotypes, range, and the thing is that indigenous people, and I'm using the word indigenous, quote unquote indigenous, these, these are colorable terms up for debate, but I'm just speaking for the layperson. You know, indigenous peoples have been mixing for a long time. So
A
you go on the
long time
yeah,
since they first came here, the colonizers. You
yeah,
know,
and,
we
and
were
then
we were mixing before they even came here.
even I was about to say even before they came, yeah, because people had been coming here to the Americas. So when the early explorers came, they made note of that, and they said, well, these Indians are like a hybrid race, you know, even though, you did have the highly melanated peoples who preceded all of that, but, you did have people who mixed and married over time, when different peoples came to these shores, for going way back. This didn't just become a melting pot, in the recent era of colonialism. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Henry Louis Gates and Walter Pluckert, the mentality.
Yeah. So Henry Louis Gates, yeah, a lot of oh man.
I don't know if Elgod or Donna is familiar with either one that I just named. If you are, could you write us to let us know?
Yeah, Henry Louis Gates. Who let him out the gate?
They need to put him back in the gates.
Put him back in the gate, because he's another one that was saying that people of a darker hue who claim to be indigenous are not. And he says that our ancestors lied, you know. And he said because based on his studies, most of us have less than 11% Native American DNA and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And so, again, like I said, if you're just relying on them, you're always going to have a misinterpretation of the
And
information.
Gates recently got caught on camera making a joke about how he, in front of his peers, how he lied and had his friend doing the DNA. Uh,
Rick Kittles.
Rick Kittle. Can you fill the audience in? By the way, El God said he's familiar with both. Can you tell the audience a little bit about Skittles and Gates and their lying, and Gates laughing at a meeting to his white peers on how Oprah lied and said she was Zulu, and he told Gates told the guy to go, well, make her Zulu,
Yeah,
make her
so
Zulu. If she said she's Zulu, make her Zulu. And these are the people that are controlling the population as far as who's indigenous and who's not, who's African and who's not, you know?
yeah, so he admitted right in public that Oprah had went around telling people that she was Zulu, and he asked Rick Kittles. He said, "Hey, man, did you tell Oprah that she was Zulu?" He said, "No, I don't even. Yeah, I didn't tell her anything yet. I said I don't even have the results." He said, "Well, she's running around here telling people that she's Zulu." So I said, "Well, since you're back there making it up anyway, why don't you make her Zulu?"
Exactly.
And so he said, then yeah, and so he made her Zulu,
He made a
and he even
Zulu.
say yeah, and so he talked about how they can't just take some spit, and just tell somebody exactly what they are, blah 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 blah, and he went on and on and on. So, you know, I take anything that Gates says with a grain of salt, sea salt at that, you
Sea
know.
salt.
And so, you know, his interpretation is inaccurate, okay? And it doesn't even follow the historical narrative, because if when you study history, it tells you that first of all, less than 5% of those who were brought here to these shores were brought to North America, okay, via the transatlantic slave trade, okay. And also, and I also have to put this out there before I go any further. So, this particular discussion that we are having today is we already know about the fact that the first slaves that were brought here were Caucasian. We already know that. I talked about that about 15, maybe 20 years ago. Um, and I had the book. I was the first one to talk about this book, by the way. This book, They Were White and They Were Slaves. I talked about that book. I actually bought this book back in the 90s, early 90s. So, but however, we talked about that a long time ago. So for this particular discussion, and I know there were some people who I did get an email where it was asked of me to talk about the white slavery and that whole history. But, I dealt with this like about me and you, Firebird. We did the video back way back in, I think it was like what, 2005 maybe, something. Remember,
About 2005.
we
Yeah.
were out in the park, you know, and I had the
Yeah. Uh-huh.
boards, you know, and I talked about
Yes.
this book. This book is, matter of fact, this book is so old. You see the spine is coming off. You see, I got like, it's all dog eared up. It's all, you see all the highlights. I did all the highlight, you know, all over the book is highlighted and marked up. You see all that? We were going in
We were going in heavy.
heavy. We were
I
going
think
in
we
heavy.
were really the only ones doing that at that time.
Yeah, I mean, real heavy. So you can see, I done marked this book all. I done been all. I was the first one to talk about this book, but this particular discussion, we already dealt with that. So this particular discussion, I know people want to hear about it, but I don't like to repeat information. I like to continue to, like I said in a live that I did on my channel the other day, you know, I could do this stuff all day long, okay, for the next 365 days
Yeah.
without repeating anything, you know. So I like to bring new
Right.
information, you know, when I present. So I mean, maybe one day I can do revisit this again, but you know, we want to bring information that a lot of people are not familiar with. Okay. So anyway, with that being said, I just wanted to say that because I know some people had brought it up for me to talk about it. But we can do that at a later time. But for right now, we want to continue the discussion at hand without deviating from the topic. Okay. So what we wanted to cover was the put everything in its proper historical perspective in terms of, because I get a lot of people, and Firebird also gets a lot of people who tell us constantly that there were no Africans that came here, and also say that there was no slavery, or things of that nature. So we just wanted to put that narrative into its historical perspective. And there were some Africans that did come here. Okay. There were, well, it looks like we lost Firebird. I don't know what happened. Are we still on? I don't know. Firebird, is anybody in the chat? If y'all can hear me still talking, put a one up or a thumbs up, because I don't know if I'm even on air right now, because Firebird is not here. Oh, you can hear. Okay. Oh,
Can
it
you?
looks like she's coming back. Oh, we just lost her again. Oh, you're
Hello?
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gone.
Below, I don't know. Can you repeat the few sentences that you said?
Yeah, I was saying for this particular conversation, because we already talked about the other stuff, you know, in terms of, you know, the fact that the first slaves that were brought here were Caucasian, and also a lot of the other things that are popular, things that I already talked about. I don't like to go back over. I like to bring new information because there's a whole wealth of information that is to be shared. And, you know, we don't want to keep repeating the same thing. I like to bring new stuff each time that I present. And so one thing that we talked about, the reason why we did this particular, or should I say, the reason why Fire is actually, this is Firebird's brainchild. So Firebird wanted me to talk about the Africans that did come to these shores. Okay, because we get people all the time that come to me and also come to Firebird and say that there were no Africans that came here, whether it be Africans that came via the Mali expeditions or no Africans that came here via the transatlantic slave trade and things of that nature. So we wanted to put that into historical perspective. And I wanted to show the evidence. And again, that's not to say that we're not Aboriginal, you know. However, there were those that did come from the continent, and there is evidence of that. Okay. And so, how do we know that this is so? Okay. And we left off by talking about the fact that if you look at certain customs and also certain survivals among certain peoples who can trace their lineage to the continent, there is no doubt about that. Okay. Because let's take, for instance, I'll go the Caribbean and then I'll work my way here to North America. Okay. So when you look in the Caribbean, there are certain families who did, in fact, come to the Caribbean and preserved their different different customs. Okay. And that includes their spiritual systems, language, and lineage. Okay. And let's take, for instance, we spoke the last time we left off talking about traditions such as Santeria, Palo, things of that nature. So you find in Latin America, let's take like Cuba, okay? You will find, let's take the tradition of Santeria, okay? You'll find, as a matter of fact, I'm going to share the screen right now. I'm going to share the screen. And so right here, we're going to look at a document. Actually, this is from a book that I have. And let me see how does it look? Can you make out any of that on the screen,
Not
Firebird?
yet. Not yet. Unless you want me to pull it up. Oh wait, there you go.
Do you see it? Oh, okay, good. Okay. So when you look, you're gonna see these different deities. Okay. And I'm gonna make this a little bigger so that y'all can see it. Okay. And so in Santeria, you have different. Hold on, let me see something here. Um, okay, so we have some comments. Let me just before I move forward, let me.
I was going to ask you to read some of the comments. Quite a few.
Yeah. Um, okay, so yeah, people gave the thumbs up when you went out. Okay. Akeem. All right, peace, Akeem. He says, "Will you do a build on Black Europeans on this channel. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can do that for sure. That is, you know, that is something I've spoken about that before. Okay, but again, I like to present new information. That's kind of old news. But yeah, I can revisit that, and you know we can talk about that. But I've talked about that before. Um, and we have Jeremiah Myers says they actually have a document saying the Pan African movement is a part of their agenda to divide us and push us off the land. There is a lot of money invested in that movement. Yeah, yeah. We're familiar with that. You know, and but we're not worried about that. We're doing our thing. Because
Fearce, Akeem wants to know who the heck is Spencer Wells.
oh yeah, well we talked about that earlier. Um, you have to go back. He probably came in after we started the presentation. Um, yeah, Spencer Wells. I'm not gonna go back um, in the interest of time. But yeah, just when you replay the video, you'll see who Spencer Wells is because we talked about that. Well, all right, I'll go back a little bit, but not too much, because we talked about that in the first video. This is part two. Actually, really, this is like the third video because the first video they took down because I know you didn't get a chance to reshare it. So this is like the third video on this topic. But anyway, Spencer Wells is an anthropologist, and he did a series on PBS called The Journey of Man, and he was out to show that all life began in Africa and blah 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 blah, and he showed how they can trace the mitochondrial Eve to Africa and this, that, and the other. So that's in a nutshell. He did a whole documentary, wrote a book.
I briefly I put Akeem a video on my channel. I it was the one before this one,
Yeah,
a clip.
and yeah, and okay, and Jeremiah also says that he's been trying to get into the genealogical aspect lately, but still lying to celebrities. Yes, he has. Yeah, he's lying to the celebrities, of course. That's why, I said earlier, I take what Henry Louis Gates says with a grain of salt, you know. Um,
Mm-mm.
then he says, M. Cart says to Jeremiah, he says, he's not lying to celebrities. The celebrities know the truth. They're in on it. I can believe that. A lot of our celebrities say they say their tribe name and sport their turquoise jewelry. Yeah, like Tina Turner. Tina Turner sat up there and Gates told her that she had no Indian in her family. And she just sat up there and skinning and grinning. But however, yours truly has read Tina Turner's autobiography.
Yeah.
And I reference that autobiography in my book. And all throughout her autobiography, she talked about how she was raised by her Navajo people, you know, and she how she grew up the Indian lifestyle and blah 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 blah. So yes, I do feel that that statement is correct that the celebrities are in on it, you know.
Well, Oprah proved to be in on it.
hmm And he says a lot of our celebrities say they're tribal and yeah, sport their turquoise jewelry. Yeah, yeah, that's you're right on point with that. And so Yeah, so I was saying, Jeremiah, yeah, we know they're trying to push the Pan Africanist agenda, you know, but, we're not worried about that because some people, no matter what, you try to tell them in regards to, you know, the history and things of that nature. You could tell them until you're blue in the face, and they're still gonna go with the narrative that they're trying to push. So at this particular time, I don't try to convince people. If you don't know the real history by now, it's nothing I can say is gonna change anything. Because with all of the information that's floating around, in this technological age that we're in, then it's a lost cause. You know. So anyway, let's look at this aspect of the history right now. And so when you look at the Santeria religion, you will see that they have a list of deities, and these particular deities. Okay, so Santeria, here you have um, Cuba and Candomblé, also called Macumba. Okay, this is Brazil. Okay, and then you have the Yoruba. Okay, which is in Nigeria, West Africa. Okay, so the way that you know that, in fact, there were some, okay, and I emphasize the word some Africans that came over here, is the fact that when they came over here, they brought their practices with them. Okay, so when you look in the Santeria religion, you see Eshu, which is the trickster god.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you also have that same, and you have, so Eshu, you find Eshu in the Yoruba, and you find Eshu also known as Elegua in Santeria, and Eshu in Candomblé in Brazil. Okay, and then in the Yoruba, you have Orisha, uh, um, Orisha Nla. Okay, and you have Obatala in Santeria, and Orisha, Osala, Obatala in Candomblé. Okay, then you have in the Yoruba, on the next line, you have Orunmila. Okay, which is also in Santeria, corresponds Orunmila, also Orunla, and Orunmila in Candomblé in Brazil. Okay, then you also have Shango. Okay, in the Yoruba, you have Shango in Santeria and Shango in Candomblé in Brazil. You have Ogun. Okay, and you have Ogun all across
Mhm.
in Santeria. Okay, and Candomblé. Okay, um, now you don't have Ochosi. Okay, then you have Sanpano, which is corresponds to Babaluaye and Abaluaye in Candomblé, Omolu, and Sampana. Okay, and you have Yemanya, okay, in the Yoruba, and Yemaya in Santeria, and Yemanya in Candomblé. Okay, Osun, okay, Oshun in the Yoruba, Oshun in Santeria, and Oshun in Candomblé. Okay, you've got Oya and Yansa in Santeria. Okay, and Oya Lanza in Candomblé. Okay, so, and you also have in the tradition called voodoo in Haiti or Haiti. Okay, you also find a lot of the same deities. They call them loas in voodoo. Okay, and then some. You have quite a few in voodoo. Okay, but in voodoo you find Ogun. Okay, in voodoo. Okay, and you find a lot of the same deities that you have here in the pantheon of voodoo. Okay, and in those traditions, you also find an indigenous American element as well.
Can I
Okay.
say something real quick? The word
Hmm.
Yansa, the word Yansa is buffalo in Cherokee language.
Okay.
It's spelled exactly the same way.
Interesting. Interesting. Mm, yeah. And so I want to pull up another document as well. And so you also have the tradition called hoodoo in North America. Okay. And before we get there, I want to bring up another document. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
That picture I got before.
Oh,
If you can't, you could send it over here too.
okay. Well, let me actually let me pull that up.
Okay.
Let me pull that up. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna get that on the screen. Here it is. Okay, so I'm gonna share this image here and let me know if you can see it.
All right, it came.
Okay, so these this particular image here was sent to me by my god brother, um, and he is he's from Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
and these are um, some people who were taken into slavery and sent to Puerto Rico. Okay, and these are Muslim slaves or prisoners of war, I like to say. Okay, and so again, there were some, you know, again, this is not the majority, but there were indeed some, you
Now,
know.
you mentioned that they were Muslims. Are they from West Africa? If you know.
This particular, let me see. These, I believe, were from West Africa.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, because you got to remember, most of a great majority of
Mhm.
people in Africa nowadays are Muslim. And even in West Africa, a whole
Yes.
lot of, yeah, well, a large majority of the population in West Africa are Muslims.
Yes.
Hmm. And there are still those who practice the traditional religions as well, or spiritual systems, you know. And even in Haiti or Haiti, the revolutionary by the name of Boukman, he was said to be one who was a Muslim slave or a Muslim prisoner of war, I like to say. And he also practiced the Voodoo religion as well. But they called him Bookman because he was the man of the book, which was the Holy Quran. Okay. So some may say, well, wouldn't that be a conflict, him being Muslim and also practicing Voodoo? But you got to remember, in West Africa, most of the Islam that they practice is Sufi in nature. Okay, so you're talking about the esoteric aspect of Islam and not the Wahhabism that you find prevalent today, among those Middle Eastern types of people. Okay, so in Puerto Rico and all throughout Latin America, you will find certain aspects of the culture that is indeed African, you know, as well as indigenous. So you have different groups there in, let's say for instance, uh Puerto Rico, right? So you have those who are indigenous, you also have those who are of the Spanish persuasion from Spain, and you also have those who are African. Okay, so you have like a you have a variety there. You have a cultural mix that make up the people in that on that particular island. Okay, so you find in their traditions, um, like for instance, um, the some of their dishes like mofongo. Okay, that is African.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just like the spiritual systems that you see them practicing, you know, as well as, don't get me wrong, they also have spiritual systems that have the indigenous influence as well. Okay, just like here, you have what they call hoodoo in North America.
Right.
Okay, and the hoodoo tradition, you know, you have the aspect that is African, and you also have the aspect that is indigenous. Okay, and they say as well some European influence as well, because as someone mentioned earlier, you had the dark skinned Europeans that came over here as well. Okay, so you have different influences that make up the hoodoo tradition. They call it hoodoo, conjure, root work, you know. And so, for instance, okay, you have you find the in the voodoo that's practiced here. Let's take for instance in New Orleans, right? You have Papa Legba, okay, and who is Legba? Legba is a Yoruba deity, okay. He's the one who you meet at the crossroads, okay. That is a Yoruba deity, okay. So you know it's all about, when you speaking on history, you want to put everything in its proper perspective. You can't just mix and jumble up everything all together. You have to be able to separate your timelines, separate your cultures, and things like that, and put it all in its proper perspective. So we have some more comments. Let's see. Um, where are we? M. Cart says Lionel Richie knows the truth. He wears nice turquoise jewelry. So he does. Robin Roberts, so does Robin Roberts, LL Cool J, Flavor Flav, and Pharrell. Yeah, yeah. Because if you looked at, let's say, for instance, the documentary, the Black Indians documentary, LL Cool J is in that documentary, and he said that his family was Cherokee.
Yeah.
You know.
So was Tupac's.
Mm-hmm. And Pharrell, I mean, you can look at Pharrell and you look at the indigenous brother on the cover of the Black Indians book, and they look strikingly similar, you know,
Hmm.
minus the hair, they look just
Minus
alike.
the hair.
Hmm. And Jeremiah says, I think we can push for the government to change our identity so they can realize us for who we really are, not black and African American. Hmm. And he also says, I've been doing my research lately. I've been trying to find out, was the Aboriginal Australians on the Pacific Islanders and America before 1492 with the indigenous tribes. Yeah, well, I spoke on that a while back, and I talked about how they already have DNA evidence that there were Pacific markers here. Okay. And as a matter of fact, when they found the bones of Lucia, okay, they talked about how people had come here from the Pacific, okay, and those markers are there. Yep, we spoke about that. Well, I spoke about that a while back. And also, M. Cart says, um, he's responding to Jeremiah saying, I heard we as indigenous in here in the Americas are more closely related to Australia Aboriginals than Africans, especially when you speak of phenotype
Mm-mm.
and genotype. Well, when it comes to phenotype, I would say with phenotype, we vary with phenotype, but in terms of phenotype, I would say that mm, yes and no. I would say you can't even say that because what is an African phenotype?
Exactly.
Because I lived in Africa and there is no one phenotype there. When I was living there, I saw people who looked identical, who could pass for twins of people here in North America. I mean, identical. So I would say when it comes to phenotype, I would say that the phenotypes here are just as much the same as Africans, as much as in Australia.
At one point, Spencer Wells was trying to say the Aboriginals of Australia were closely related to the people of India.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yep. I would say in phenotype, uh in phenotype, you can't just pigeonhole Africa into just your stereotypical um West African phenotype that they show you on the TV, because there's so many phenotypes in Africa. Um, so I would have to say that you know it's equal on both sides in terms of Australia and Africa. Yeah. Uh, um, M. Card says Pharrell is on YouTube drumming with the Sioux tribe. Really?
It was
Uh,
Northern Cree.
Northern Cree. Oh, okay, I didn't
Yeah,
see that.
one of the greatest drum groups.
Yeah, yeah, Northern Cree for sure. Wow. So you saw it.
I saw it. Yeah.
Can you send that to me?
If I can find it, I saw it a long time ago. But
Okay.
he was hanging out at a powwow, and the drum group that he was around was Northern Cree.
Mm. Okay.
You know, the word gets around who's who.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Now
And
there's different controversies on the amount of slaves that actually came here, how many voyages. Database had mentioned something about 27,000 added to the database of the voyages, and that doesn't seem to add up to the amount they say is millions of Africans coming through all of the European control Americas. Can you speak about that a little bit?
yeah, so they say that, I know if you look on slavevoyages.org, they say there were approximately, I think it's 365 or 375,000, something like that, that actually came to North America. Um, and yeah, that is pretty consistent with
Well,
the
that's Turtle Island or the rest of the Americas, because
that's Turtle Island.
yeah, Turtle Island alone,
Hmm.
and the biggest amount of slaves came out of places like the Congo. Uh, Let me think of some more. Uh, I have a whole list that came out of half came from two regions: Senegambia, the Erica
Senegambia.
crossing, the Senegal and Gambia rivers, and the land between them are today's Seneca, Gambia, Guinea, Bissau, and Mali, and West Central Africa, including what is now Angola, Congo, the Democratic Republic of Angola, Congo, yes, Angola. That's the biggest amount if people are looking for their ancestry. Those are the areas that they came out of.
Yeah, that's what they say. Um, you know, and again, those are, when you look at that number, 375,000, 365 to 375,000, that's quite small compared to the number of people that are here, um, that represent the quote unquote African American population. So, hmm,
And we can add that it took, what, 366 years before the slave trade ended. That's a long time.
I'm not sure the exact number of years. I know it was supposed to have stopped in, yeah, 366 years. I have to disagree with that. Um, See, a lot of that information, they are when it comes to slavery, they have lied about so much in regards to slavery. They painted this broad brush of slavery just being people that look like you and I.
Right.
But, a lot of the slaves
Mm-mm.
that they're not telling us is they were European, Caucasians,
Caucasians as well, I know.
you know.
Well,
And
it started, they claim the transatlantic slave trade started in 1505 and ended with the Emancipation Proclamation. But even that's a lie because when the Emancipation Proclamation happened, many slaves didn't know they were free for
hmm
3 years after that.
right, right.
So there's your proof right there how much they lie.
That's where, yeah, exactly. That's where you get your whole Juneteenth thing, you know, and that whole history with the Karen Kara collective.
I
Yeah,
I also don't believe that the Clotilda was the only illegal slave ship. You know,
right, right.
monkey see, monkey do type of
hmm
attitude. Oh well, he got slaves illegally, so I'm going to get it. I'm going to get slaves. You know,
hmm
that's
right.
just instance of them recording our incident of an illegal slave ship.
hmm
You understand what I'm saying?
right.
They could tell us anything. It could have been several slave ships going on at that time or even before, because international slave trade was illegal, but American slave trade was still legal.
hmm
So anything could have been happening with sneaking slaves in. You know,
right, right. And two, like I said earlier, they are, you know, we have to put everything in this proper historical perspective. What they do is they downplay the aspect of the Caucasians who were, see, the first Africans that were brought over here were not slaves. They were actually indentured servants. And if you get a book called Africa's Gift to America by J.A. Rogers, he illustrates that beautifully. And he talks about how the first Africans that were brought over here, they were indentured. As a matter of fact, even before that, before I get into that point, we have to remember too that the Caucasians and the Americans, I'm talking about the Christian Americans. That's what they called the Caucasian at that time, the Christians. Okay, they they couldn't even really travel and navigate the seas freely and unmolested because the Moors controlled the seas. So all the way up until the 19th century, they were being snatched up on the seas and taken into slavery. As a matter of fact, I did a whole thing on that. Um, for those who saw the beginning of the series that I did on my channel called The Empire Strikes Black, when I did in the beginning of I think it was either the Moors and Indians, friends or enemies, or it was the lineage of the Aboriginal movement. Can't remember which one it was. It was one of those lectures where I talked about how the Europeans or the Caucasian Europeans were, they couldn't even, they were all those nations were tributary to the Moors. And it was so much until, you know, they just, they had to, they had to constantly pay the Moorish sultans big heavy ransoms to not be molested on the seas. And also they trying to get their people free from slavery, you know, they had to pay heavy ransoms. Okay, and this was going on way up until like the 18 late 1800s. And I have that documented.
Yeah, well, people think Christopher Columbus didn't have any relationship with the Moors, but he did. You
Mhm.
know, they were navigators, and
Mhm.
his dad was a map maker, and the
Mhm.
Moors were all up in there. And he brought one particular brother named El Negro. He was a Moor. He brought
Mhm.
him on, navigated for Christopher Columbus. So the Moors were very powerful.
Oh yeah.
They were
Oh yeah.
very powerful. They might even been telling Christopher Columbus what to do. You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. 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 You know. So, there's a lot of things that they're leaving out when they tell the slavery story, you know. And when we come back, I'll actually show some of the visuals to illustrate it even further because as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words, you know. So when we come back and do another presentation, I'll actually show the visuals on that.
So you want to do a part three of this series?
Sure, we can do that.
Okay,
You have some questions
I'll let
in the
you
chat.
answer.
Let's see here. Uh,
Someone said that there's a lady. I saw something about someone saying she changed her nationality. Her was it Arkeem? Was it you? Someone said. Oh, Akeem said that he heard that the word Christopher Columbus was a Moor. Also, possibility.
yeah, well, more is covers a wide range, in terms of definition, you know. So, you talk about,
No.
a dark skinned person, then you're talking about a more. And yeah, there is some I've seen, and I believe, yeah, I have somewhere in my documentation,
Yeah,
in
Akeem
some of my
said.
documents that yeah, that he was.
Yeah, Akeem said someone else told him. I gathered that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have that somewhere in my documents. I got to look in my documents. I have it somewhere
please
in
put
here.
that aside for next time.
I have to find it. I have too
And
many. I have so many documents.
oh
I got to look for it, but I have it here somewhere.
Akeem, I think he's talking about someone saying the lady changing her nationality with someone else. Well, I wish her luck with that. Because Indian law applies, and the government has it set up that they are in control through the Bureau of Indian Affairs who's Indian and who's not. And they have CDIBs. You can tell them what that means, Fierce. Uh,
Certificate degree of Indian blood.
yes. I wish her well in trying to get her nationality changed, but if they're not doing it for people that are already recognized, what makes her think they're going to do it for her? If she wins, I say bravo.
Mm.
But that's going to be very, very difficult because we have a section of law called Indian law, and you have a lot of proving to do to go into court with that. You can't just uh, change my nationality, and it doesn't work like that. Because money and land are involved in the mix of that. You know, and how many people they're going to give allotments of land. That's why a lot of the treaties were set up because of land. Even though the treaties mostly were crooked, this is how they, got you by the balls, the treaties, and the land allotment and the roles, how they kept track of you through the roles, to make sure that you don't get what you feel you should get. So it's a lot, a lot involved. And I wish her luck with that, but it's not simple just because she's writing the White House or she's writing her congressman. And, they have certain laws they set up just to keep us like this, so if she gets through, that means a lot of people are going to get through, and they're not going to let that happen so easily. A lot of these new movements, they have no idea what it takes to be considered Indian. You know, I
Mm.
mean, you could look like the guy on the nickel or the California Indians. They don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
They may know who you are, but they don't care. If they don't want to count you, they're not going to count you.
Mm.
Unless this may sound militant, but unless someone takes the country over, maybe,
Mm.
but they have the guns and the bullets. They have the control and world support. So I wish her well with that. It sounds real good. She's writing this and she's protesting that, but she has no idea.
That's Sacagawea's area of expertise, Indian law.
Yeah,
I'll get her on the show one day and let her talk about Indian law.
you know. I mean,
Hmm.
my tribe, we keep quiet as much as possible because we know all these rules and regulations, and
Mm.
it is what it is, my dear. I wish her well. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you also M Cart says thanks for the correction in regards to Northern Cree and
Oh, no
Akeem.
correction. You knew he was drumming with someone. I just remember it was a great group, Northern Cree. You know.
Yeah, very very popular group.
Oh, they're number one off the
Number
chart.
one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Exactly. If you ever get a chance to check their
They're
music
like
out.
the prince. They're like the prince of Michael Jackson Indian world,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh yeah.
or
That's true.
Beyonce, or Mary
Right.
J.
Exactly. Exactly. Then
you know.
Akeem says stuff like that is what I was referring to when you had Cheeto Pa and the Turtle Gang guy on the show. They misinterpreted my question regarding that. Um, I'm not sure what the question was.
What
Um,
was the question?
maybe he'll type it in the chat.
You may try not to be offended by anyone's presentation talking to you.
And Jeremiah says, oh, okay, that's the question that you were just dealing with. And let's see here. And K Stowe says, Ocio, would you say that there are similar phenotypes of people here as well as Africa because people were being stolen from Turtle Island and being sent enslaved to Africa as well. I wouldn't say that because the ones that were being taken to Africa, they were only taken to certain parts of Africa. You're talking about like Sierra Leone and Liberia, and it doesn't account for the whole, that
Continent.
the whole continent. That's a um, small geographic area in comparison to the whole continent. So I would say no, that's not. That wouldn't account for the phenotypes being the same. Then Akeem says, I recall when the celebrity Godfrey was asked by Dane Calloway about the slave trade as an Igbo, and he said he was only told random tall tales of his tribe. I'm not sure what that was in regard to. I guess, oh, okay, I guess that's in regard to the slave trade. Okay, let me read that again. I recall when the celebrity Godfrey was asked by Dane Calloway about the slave trade as an Igbo, and he said he was only told random tall tales. So, okay, gotcha. Yeah, well, again, you, they fabricated this whole slave trade thing. It's been inflated. You know, and most of the people, like I said in previous presentations, most of those people were only told about the slave trade when they came here and started listening to um, people here, historians and stuff here who are Pan Africanists, and also being miseducated in these universities and things of that nature. So, you know, that's what that's about. Also, who else we have here? Oh, Akeem says there was also a trans-Pacific slavery as well. Yes, we know about that. Um, I've spoken about that before on more than one occasion. Let's see. Jeremiah says her name is, so he says that the lady who changed her tribal identity, he says her name is Sister Betty.
Oh, I've heard of Sister Becky. I don't know how far she's gotten, but I don't think she'll make it in Indian law,
No,
you know.
ain't gonna get too far.
I mean, you have the free will and the right to self identify, but that doesn't mean the court is going to honor you.
Exactly. Right, right. Yeah, you can self-identify, yeah, but it's up to the courts, whether or not they're gonna recognize that.
That's not going to get you land and all this other stuff unless you have something down on their roles,
Hmm.
their records, not
Yeah.
your thing. Unless
Hmm.
you can prove that your ancestor is on a roll, or if they some tribes want to do DNA on you, it changes from tribe to tribe.
Tribe to tribe. Yeah.
You could be 1/16th, 1/25th, 1/50th, three-quarters. It depends on the tribe's rules. So I wish her well with that. She can self-identify, and she didn't even have to send a letter to whoever. She can just say who she wants to be. Who can stop her.
Hmm.
But it's not going to get her a win in court. you know
Right. Then let's see here. See who else we have here.
Kay Stowe says she loves Black Large singers. They called my house one time, Black Large. I was so honored. They were looking for when I was living in New York. They had come and they had met my ex, and one of the singers remembered our phone number and called. And I said, "Who is this?" And they said, "This is the Black Large singers." I said, "Oh my God!" I
Wow.
was so honored. They wanted to know if any powwows was coming up in the New York area at that time. You know,
Mm.
I never
Hmm.
forgot that. I didn't watch the phone for a week.
Wow.
Yeah, they were so humble. Oh, this is Black Law. I'm like, what?
Really?
Yeah, really, in the 90s. Yep, that really
Wow.
actually happened. Yep, I was so
Mm.
honored. They were so nice,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
they can jam. They can
Oh,
throw
they
down.
can jam. Yeah, I love me some Black Lodge.
They can
I
throw
remember
down.
Yellowhammer and oh, so many great drummers, you know.
Hmm.
So many, but Northern Cree is like the superstars, you know.
Yeah, the elite, the elite.
The elite. I got I gotta buy. Oh, oh,
Oh
oh,
man, yeah, they can throw down.
oh, yeah. Even the women that sing behind them can blow.
Yeah, yeah, very much so, very
I
much
don't
so.
know. I don't know what they have in their tacos, but it's doing something special for their voices. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
give me some of those Indian tacos.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, you're
You
right about
know.
that.
Well, I
Hmm.
wish Sister Becky well. You know, and we have so much more to discuss. But I know you have to get off the phone.
You got quite a few more comments here.
All right, go ahead. Not the phone, but the show.
Yeah,
I'm still thinking about Black Lodge on the phone.
yeah, yeah.
Wow, that was such an honor.
Hmm. So M. Cart says they don't show much a piece of wood and say it's Clotilda, not buying it. I feel you on that. I'm still not 100%. That piece of wood that they found is the Clotilda either. Who knows? You know.
I can believe it, but I don't know if
Yeah.
they found the actual one. I believe the incident happened, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
until
no. He's talking about what they claim they found.
I mean, it's a possibility. I mean,
It's a possibility.
it happened in that area, and wood burns, and then in the water, the fire goes out, and things sink to the bottom.
It's a
You know,
possibility. I don't know.
it's not impossible. I mean, that was like 160 something years ago, but
Mm,
debris stays at the bottom. So
it's not
I,
impossible.
I'm hoping it is for the descendants of
Hmm.
Africa Town,
Hmm.
so that this can help them prosper more because they
Yeah.
have big plans. They're building museums, so on and so forth, and trying to get people to live there again. And I'm hoping, and hey, they got the white man on their side. Go for it. The white brother. Go for it.
Hey, if
You
they can get some
know,
money
yeah,
for it, hey, why not?
yeah, exactly. I'm
You know.
hoping it is, but I don't believe that was the only illegal slave ship. I believe other
Hmm.
people were doing things illegally too to bring slaves. I
Hey.
mean, he went back and he bragged that he did it, and other people probably said, "Why not? Let's do it too."
Hmm.
That's just my opinion. A lot of stuff is done illegally when it comes to making money.
Hmm. And yeah, I always say that. Hey, if I ever find a slave in my lineage, They gonna give me mine. I'm coming to collect. I'm coming to collect. If I find one, okay, I'm coming to collect my check.
I
You
wish you
best
well too.
believe.
I wish you well with that.
I'm coming to collect
What
my
Cat
check.
Stevens say? Wait for it.
I'm
Wait
coming to
for it.
collect my check. They gonna give me something. Okay.
You better take your godmother out for a dinner.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I surely will. So I'm coming to collect,
As a
you
matter
know.
of fact, take me out for that whole week. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Oh
You-
yeah.
since you'll be splurging.
Hmm.
But I'm saying, wait for it. you know,
If I
where's the
ever,
40 acres and the mule?
yeah, I'm coming for my check. I'm coming for my
Where,
40 acres. I'm
I
coming
mean,
for that. I'm coming for that mule.
Spike
You
Lee
know.
did us a favor. I mean, he got us almost with his film production. 40 acres and a mule film. We got something out of the deal.
If
Life is
I
funnier
ever,
than fiction.
you let me find one. Okay.
Wait
Y'all gonna
for it.
give me what you owe me.
Yeah, wait for it.
You know, that'll be a double whammy. The indigenous and whatever else you owe me. You know. But anyway, let's see. Um, what else we got here? Let's see. Jeremiah says she have her own channel on YouTube. She do genealogy. Her name's Sister Bethy.
Okay, but is it on the rolls?
Right.
Is it on the rolls where she'll get her money? Is it on the
Hmm.
rolls? That's the trick,
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of Indians that are, like you say, real Indians, and their families are not on the rolls,
Right.
and they're not getting anything. And every tribe doesn't get the same rewards as a lot of people think they do.
Daryl Gross says she has done it already. Talk to her. I
She's
don't
done.
know. There's a lot of people. I know a lot of people who make those claims, but
She
you
has
know
done what though? Change her nationality? I mean, hey,
anybody can do that.
fierce
Anybody
truth
can do that.
seeker. You told me you wanted to be Chinese. Okay, so be it.
Right, right.
So be it. You're Chinese now. I'm not going to argue with you.
Right, right. Yeah, I
You
mean,
know,
anybody can do that, but the thing is, being recognized is another thing.
is she recognized by the United States government or a tribe? If she's recognized by a tribe, oh, then more power to her. The basketball player got recognized because his mom was from that tribe.
Yeah, that's different
Their
than
names were
starting.
on there.
That's different than starting an organization.
Yes,
Because I
exactly.
people see I people come to me all the time and say so and so. We know everybody who is somebody. Okay, when it comes to the Indians. Okay, and I run into people all the time as a vendor, in my spare time on the street, and people be like, "Yeah, so and so, I got a card from Chief so and I ask for the name. I'd be like, "Okay, well, who is it?" I'd be like, and they tell me, and I'd be like, "Oh, well, I don't know who that. That's they have an organization. They're an
Yeah,
organizational chief, but that doesn't mean that you have a card from an actual tribe.
right, exactly.
I don't want to call any names. Some of the people I'm talking about, Firebird. I don't want to call any names.
Yeah, she probably got it from an organization. And honestly, I feel this way. Um, in the old days, we pick and choose our chiefs. We didn't have
Mhm.
to go through the government to pick who we wanted to be our leader, you know? But
Mhm.
nowadays, since the treaties were formed and the Bureau of Indian Affairs came about, the government controls who is a legitimate, recognized tribe, not an organization. You could be state or federal, but that's
Mhm.
still governmental or on some sorts, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, people get duped all the time, and I try to tell people, I'll be like, yo, okay, you fell for the okie doke, you got scammed, and no matter what, people they don't want to hear it, and they just think because people look like us or whatever, they just go for it, and I'll be like, okay, and I see people, get duped, you know, taken for a ride, you know. So, you know, she might have gotten, there might have been a situation with her. She might have, gotten duped, you know. Um,
Or she had something where she could prove and a recognized tribe, but from what it sounds like, she's just part of an organization. And
yeah.
believe me, I feel that everyone should be able to choose their tribal leaders, and you shouldn't have to go through the government, and it should be free will and self-determining and things like
Hmm.
that. But until that date happens, we have to go through the state and the federal system, you know. Otherwise you're just unrecognized tribe, you know, or organization. You know, you could tell me she's done it already, but you know, I don't have any proof that she's done anything but join an organization.
Like I say, we know all the players.
We know all the players,
We know all the players. Okay,
you know.
and that's just like back in the
I wish
days.
her well, and don't think, um, Daryl, don't think I'm putting what she's doing down. I'm not.
Right, right,
I'm
exactly.
just
No, we're not
telling
doing that.
you. I'm telling you by law how it works. Indian law how it works.
Indian law. Yeah.
Indian law. There's only like over 565 recognized tribes out of the thousands and thousands of Indians in Turtle Island that are recognized by the United States government. Other ones, you're going to have to call yourself a nonprofit. You're going to have to raise your
Right.
own funds to have your own little powwows and things like that. You may get a proclamation from the mayor, you know,
Hmm.
but that's as far as the government is going to let you do, because everything is based on land and money, casinos, land
Hmm.
allotments, and that's just how it is.
That's how it works.
That's how it works.
Yeah. That's just
You
like back in the
know?
days. That's just like back in the days. Remember Firebird? Everybody was running and getting them cars from Chief Rattlesnake.
Yeah, Chief Rattlesnake. Yeah, he was Cherokee, right?
Yeah.
Was supposed to. Yeah, I know some. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Hmm.
you know, and I feel this way. Like I said, Fierce, we have a right to have our own chiefs and our own leaders.
Right.
That's what they did in the old days, you know.
Hmm.
Stock and Turkey, Cherokee, and Chief Bowles, and Geronimo, and just the list goes on. We didn't have to go through the White House to say who were our leaders, you know. But
Hmm.
that's the old days, you know.
Yeah.
So of course you can have your organization or your club or whatever, but
Right. That's different.
that's different. They may put you on a fraud list, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's even groups running around now putting these organizations on fraud lists.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen fraud lists with legitimate Indians on it. So
Exactly.
if they didn't know you,
Exactly.
you had to be fraud, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and you're legitimate.
And
They
they're
had just
legitimate.
done that to one of the Wampanoag important people recently, you
Yeah,
know,
I heard about that.
and his tribe, his particular tribe is federally recognized. But
Mm-hmm.
because he was melanated, they assumed that he was a fake. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have to be very careful out here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish her well, you know. I mean, I will look over her page, but I'll just look out over it as a courtesy,
Yeah.
you know. And I'll defend her in the right that she has a right to self determination, but it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing else I can do in that situation. But anyways, Fierce, we're gonna do set up a part three, and
Yep.
I thank everyone for joining and listening and to understand. I wanted Fierce to do this show because of disingenuous people that are saying no Africans came here, no Africans suffered, everybody's a Aboriginal from here, and dishonoring the African ancestors and their descendants. I felt it very important to, and include their history. No history, whether we like it or not, should be left out.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with anybody who is disseminating, information in those regards. I was asked to come here as a courtesy and just put things in its proper perspective, you know, and that's what it's about. It's about, putting the correct narrative out there. And, I was given the name Fierce Truth Seeker because I'm someone who puts the accurate information out there and always remain, take a neutral stance when I do my research.
Jeremiah Myers writes, yes, because we need a solution. I would say one of the solutions is getting with your peers and try like the Jewish brothers and sisters. They set up their own yeshivas, their own schools.
Hmm.
The Amish, they set up their own society, and make it happen in your particular state or town. Um, Fierce and I are doing it in our own way, and we hope to do more. We're not just historians; we're
Mm-mm.
metaphysicians and spirituality, uh, and natural health. We do all of those things, and that's enough to like get a institution going on our part, and you have to do what you have to do on your part, you know, because it's not about two people, it's a team effort to make it spread across the country, you know.
Hmm.
um, I know some children that say to their mothers or dads, but you're teaching me at home that Christopher Columbus was a killer, and in school I have to say that he was a great man, and we tell them, yeah, well, do what you have to do to pass your test, and in private or in our own institutions we'll study on our own and correct the lies, you know. But being that we have these setups where that's the only place our children can learn legally through their bureaucracy is their school system, we have to set up our own. I mean, the Jewish population, they're no joke. They form these organizations. They have several, as far as I know, museums on the Holocaust. Where's our Indian museums on the Holocaust? Where's the African
Hmm.
museums on the Holocaust? And we have to do the same thing. We do these shows to get the truth out there, but one or two people can't do it across the country. I mean, we could get something really big going, but it's nice to see other people doing it on some level too. Whether
Jeremiah says they have an American Indian Center in Baltimore, Maryland, on
I
South
know about
Broadway.
that center, I
Yeah, he
know
say, but
about
it's
it.
yeah, he say, but it's still hard, especially in that city.
Yeah, it's very hard. And in the past, I hope they improved. There was some kind of discrimination there some years ago, and just like the one in New York, I won't mention its name, but that organization was, you really had to have some big connections on your reservation and be melanated to get some respect there. It was more geared to native people from the Plains group, the
Hmm.
Midwest. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh yeah,
And the gay population.
right.
know, and the gay Indians get discriminated against as well. So I don't understand why they didn't, see the problem there, and that was wrong. But I know people that tried to get card memberships there, and they were melanated. Money was taken, and no cards were given. So these
Right.
are just examples of ways and what's the word, examples of things that we as a people should try to get around and set up our own, even if it's in your home, or your little community, your little church, or your little neighborhood center. Maybe you could set up a little thing for arts and crafts and history and
Hmm.
many powwows and things like that, and get it going, because things are being controlled many times by people that are saying they're being discriminated against.
Mm.
I mean, I know a lot. I know a lot of dirt, and I know a lot of good things, but these are just suggestions to anyone that's listening here. Never mind the one in Baltimore. Do your own thing in Baltimore. There's
True.
some great people in Baltimore, and there's a lot of Indian people there. See who you can find. Go to that center, network. I'm sure you might not be the only one with that feeling or that desire. Network. You have to get out there and network.
Got to get out there and network. That's the only way.
You know,
You can't just be behind the computer. You have to get out there.
print
Mm.
you up little papers and little lessons and things like that. That's what I would suggest to you. Get out there. I mean, we're doing our part here, and we appreciate anything that you could bring to the table here. You know,
Hmm.
but in the
Yep.
meantime, try to get things going in your particular state or town, even if it's on a small level, even if it's your family members that embrace their indigenous heritage. I mean, that's your tribe right
Do that
there.
too. There you go.
You know,
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
you know what I'm saying.
Hmm.
So, Fierce, I'm going to get off here. I'm hungry, and
Yeah, me too.
I hope everyone enjoyed it.
At least
And
we gave them something to work with. They
right,
some
right.
type of
It's
solution.
not all about two people. I mean, we've been doing this for years and years and years, but new generations are out there that are interested in their heritage. They realize they've
Mm-hmm.
been lied to. They realize they want to be a part of something. The ancestors are calling them home.
Mm-hmm.
It's always one or two in the family that will embrace your indigenous ancestors calling you back home. So just get out there and contribute your part, and you'll feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel so much better. You just won't be in the limbo. Gee, I can't do this. I won't be accepted later for those folks. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
And next time, what we'll do is or if the next time or another time, we'll have Mother Kuala Sacagawea come on. She knows the Indian law. That's her specialty. If you all have questions and stuff about how to, try to do what you're trying to do, she can have some input with that as well. Ask her questions and, you know, be a good show.
Fierce Truth Seeker is also writing a book. He's trying to get that out by summer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and support him on his efforts through little donations if you can, on
Okay.
his channel. I appreciate that also as his godmother. He's been working on this for a long time, and it would be a wonderful thing for him to get the support. And me, I'm still on Black Large. I'm black. Oh, that brought up memories. And anything I can do on my part to help you, you guys, I'll try. We're historians and much more. So we love you, and we're going to plan the next show. By the way, guys, if you can think of anything you want to discuss after we finish this series, drop me a note on my show or Fierce Truth Seeker a note on maybe some things you like to discuss. But get out there, get your family involved or your children, and enjoy yourself.
I left the link in the chat if anyone is generous enough to leave a donation. It's a Cash App that they can, if they're generous enough.
Okay, I see. We have American Indians. Oh yeah, and the Lumbee tribe. Yeah, yeah. I know the Lumbees, and I had a good friend that was Lumbee. He's no longer with us. But yeah, you got to make it more about yourselves, not just the Lumbees. You got to put yourself there, research your regalia to wear, or, even if you get a ribbon shirt or a
Hmm.
ribbon skirt and a nice top and some moccasins, go there and learn the dances and be a part and network. That's the most important. So you can find your own friends, your own group, you know, to be a part of. And on June 6th, I believe, at 6 o'clock, I'm having a special guest, Vonda Hilton of the Native Nation Dance Troupe from Philadelphia. They've done a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. And we will continue this conversation. I guess part three, right, Fierce?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Part three. Um, yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, we're going to discuss. I'll give you a call tomorrow. I love you. I love everybody out there. Thank you for wanting to be educated. Thank you for understanding why it's so important to acknowledge the African connection, not the new narrative that everyone is Aboriginal from America, Turtle Island, and my feelings about that. We may also do show on Indians with white blood. That's a part of history as well. You know, we have so many different topics to discuss. And it needs to be known. So, oh, good. We'll look for it. Just know the PayPal in the next live. Okay, so I will. Okay. Okay. So, anyways, guys, dohi, donada, gahani, don duda, gahani, gagayui, anigido. I love you all. Blessings to everyone. Blessings to you, fierce truth seeker who I love to death.
Likewise.
And we'll talk tomorrow and do a lesson plan.
Sounds good. And on
Okay.
that note,
On that note,
Onondaga
Donna Daka Honey, goodbye until we meet again. We never say goodbye. We always plan to see each other again because saying goodbye is final,
final.
end of life. So we're not planning to go that way yet. May the great you are, which is my Kitawa God, bless and keep you, and much love and respect. Donna Daka Honey.
Toda daga, huh?